Do I look like The Rock today? There's worse people. Today I'm making a jumpsuit. I'm using this thrifted fabric that came to me for about $3 and this pattern, which is free from Mood. If you've ever watched Project Runway, that's where they go to buy fabric, and the fabric store has a bunch of free patterns. So I'm using this one called the Marisol jumper. You guys helped me pick it out. I had a little poll on social media, and this is the pattern that won. There were 2 other options, which I probably will make those other ones someday, but I printed out the pattern, so the first step is to put it all together. I used to think that I could just buy a clothing sewing pattern, pick my size, make the garment. And while that is true for some people, not everyone has the same proportions that patterns are imagining. For example, the majority of patterns that I've come across are made for a body that is 5'4" and has a B cup, and likely with a flat belly and standard bust, waist, hip proportions. None of these things are true for me. For example, I am 5'2" with a short torso, and let's just say a much bigger cup size than B. It took a long time of being frustrated with my body every time I made clothes and they didn't fit how I wanted them to. But there's nothing wrong with my body. I just needed to learn how to make clothes that actually fit my shape, my proportions. Adjustment that I always make is that my upper body measurements are a different proportion to my lower body measurements than patterns assume. So I use a different size for my top measurements as for my waist and hip measurements. And that just requires creating a diagonal line usually in the side seam. That's what it's going to be in this pattern. First, I'm going to use my markers to mark which pattern line is which for which size. So the pink is going to be my bust measurement size, the orange is going to be my waist measurement size, and then the green, no, other way around. Green is waist and orange is hip measurement. I also cut out the pattern just around the largest size. I don't like to cut to my size because I might want to make this again for someone else, or my body might change, whatever. I just like keeping all of the sizes so I don't have to do it again if I ever need it for some reason. Have I ever actually made a pattern again and had to do it in a different size? No, but am I always prepared? Yes. The 2 pattern pieces are, one's the front, half of the front, and one's half of the back, and you cut out 4 pieces and put them together, 2 to the front, 2 to the back. So they're mirrored pieces. So what I need to do is make sure that the angle that I'm doing from bust measurement to hip measurement is the same on the front and back. I think I am gonna have to do a toile, which I didn't want to do, but it's fine. I will do it just to make sure that it actually is gonna fit me, because that is the point of this whole thing, is making clothes that work for my body. So I'm just gonna hold the pattern piece up to myself and just see if I think it's gonna make sense, and also mark where my waist and my hip are on the pattern so that I can make that line going wider match on the front and the back. And yes, I put on knee pads so that I can kneel on the floor and not hurt my knees. Okay, I made a little romper toile. The hip feels good. I think that's what I want it to be. I think this is how it's supposed to fit. This just does feel a little bit too wide, but I do need the fabric this way. It's like that is more what I want it to look like. I just used the size on the top that is my upper bust measurement and then angled it out to my hip measurement. I only did it on this side, so don't look at this side. I think that's what I want it to look like. Now I'm gonna cut out the fabric, and I need to decide if I'm gonna be fussy about it, like if I'm gonna care where I put the pattern pieces so that it's like a perfect mirror. That's like the actual term, if you're not familiar. It means cutting the specific part of the pattern out of the fabric that you want instead of just like putting your pattern pieces wherever. That's fussy cutting. Excuse me. Thank you. All right, you can't sit here anymore. Where can you watch from? Huh? So I cut out all of the pieces, including the pocket pieces and the shoulder straps. And I did decide to do it fussy. So I lined up what I think is gonna be the center seam of the front and the back and added the seam allowance so that the stitching line is the same on both sides, I think. I've only ever fussy cut things once before and it worked out and I didn't look it up. So I also didn't look it up this time and hopefully it's gonna be okay. I made sure to label the front and the back pieces because they are really, really similar. And what else? Oh, I accidentally cut the back upside down. It has these big purple roses that I think should be facing up, and on the back they're gonna be facing down. So let's just pretend that was an intentional design choice. Let me know if you think maybe it's the other way around. I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell with this fabric. The instructions for this pattern are really straightforward. It's pretty simple. I'm gonna do 2 extra steps. I'm gonna add an understitch to the pockets, and I'm also going to add a binding to the top. And I have this vintage green binding that I think will be really perfect for this. So those are the 2 changes I'm going to make. But first I have to just sew. Okay, you're sitting on my sewing machine. It's my favorite place to put you.
Every little bit more that I learn about how to better adjust patterns so that they actually fit my body is liberating and empowering. While my body might be bigger or smaller from year to year, my proportions have remained the same. So it's always been tricky to find clothes in stores that look and feel good, no matter what size I am. I am larger now than I have been in the past, which means options are even more limited, which is a whole other can of worms that I have a lot of anger about and will likely talk about more. But I'm working to transmute that anger into fuel, to take the power back and make shit for myself that fits how I want it to.
So I stitched all 4 seams around the front, the back, and both sides. And then I also did a zigzag around all of those just to secure the edges. I maybe should have done a thinner zigzag, but I didn't. And we're just gonna let it be okay. Now I'm gonna try it on and make sure that I like the neckline before I add the binding. So the binding is completely pinned. So I'm gonna stitch in this top fold of the bias tape. I'm gonna fold this over and encase that little seam allowance. And then I'm gonna fold it one more time and stitch it down. So from the front, it'll look like this, and from the back, it'll look like that. I don't think that's how you're supposed to do it, but maybe it is. But either way, that's how I'm doing it, and it's going to be fine.
After I sewed the binding, I made the straps according to the pattern, and they were far too narrow. So I recut a wider set based on the measurements of the bodice.
I made the new straps, and I decided to do a decorative stitch on the edge instead of just a straight stitch. For top stitching, I've never used any of the decorative stitches on any machine I've ever had, and I think it turned out pretty cute. It's like a little ladder stitch, just a nice little detail. Like, why not? You know? I'm going to attempt a French seam to attach it to the bodice, and I haven't done this before. Oh, I should make sure to put this back to straight stitch, or I will be very sad. I'm gonna do the back first because it'll be a lot easier once I put it on to bring the straps to the front and figure out exactly how long they need to be. Well, I made the straps very long. I was afraid that the pattern straps seemed too short, but I think they were actually right. So now we know. I'm gonna pin the straps to where I want them to be, and then it's just 2 more stitching moments. I need to sew up the inseam, obviously, connect the front piece to the back, and then I need to measure, trim, and hem the legs, and then it's done. It's not quite a simple project. On to something. I am short. This is a fact. And especially if I go to like a bigger size for my hip measurement, then usually things are too long. So I like though where the crotch is hitting, so I don't need to shorten it here. I would have done that earlier, like when I was cutting out the pattern. But I definitely need to add, I need to take a lot of hem because I don't even want these to touch the floor, let alone pool on the floor.
I I think there's this weird paradox that when you don't do something as often or you don't like it as much, you don't have tools that are as good, and therefore it's more challenging and even less fun. I've noticed this in kitchens of people who don't love to cook as much as I do. And I'm like, yeah, of course you think cooking is hard and not fun. For example, your knives are dull and they don't work. It's almost like the less passion you have for a task, the better tools you should have so that it's less of a lift. Anyway, I'm here to tell you that even if you don't sew clothes from scratch, but you do hem things occasionally, purchasing or DIYing a hot hem ruler will change the experience for the better. It's totally worth it. This is basically a very stiff felt ruler that you can iron directly onto, and unlike a plastic ruler, it won't melt. There are ways to DIY them too, using cardboard and kitchen foil, and it's just the easiest way that I've found to make a perfect hem.
I love a nice jumpsuit you can put on and feel like a little bit fancy, but not too fancy. And also this is like a sack, so it's really comfortable. The patterns, you get what you pay for a lot of the time. That's not always true. There are some really great free patterns out there. It says to hem the pants before you finish the inseam, which I don't understand personally, because I wanted it to be done first so that I could measure and hem to make sure that it fit me in the way that I wanted to. And if I had hemmed up just the ½ inch that they said to do, I would have had to do it again because I ended up cutting off a lot. But yeah, ultimately a great project. I'm really happy that I did it. It was so just the perfect thing to do with this secondhand fabric. If you like secondhand DIY projects, sewing projects, please feel free to subscribe, because I have so many projects I want to make. I am just like buzzing and I just can't get them edited fast enough, honestly, at this point. Bead isn't everything, I know, but there's so many projects I want to do, and I want to keep the excitement going for myself and for you guys. So yeah, subscribe, hit like, and I'll see you next time for more DIY projects. Lots of love. Bye.
Yeah.